Okay, let's just run this code and remind us where we're at. So right now we have a grid that's clickable and it lays itself out. Now the issue is, well, what if we had a bunch more squares here, but we wanted to fit it within the same amount of space? So let's just add our squares really quickly and see what happens. So I'm going to go here to our layout function, and instead of 12, I'm going to do 120. And we're going to run this. So here's what we get now, right? We get the clips just keep going off the bottom of the page. I could try to keep moving down here, right? But we just have more than we can handle. So what I'm going to show you is a nice little technique for doing that, and it uses something called a Scrollpane. So I'm going to go back to the Flash movie here for a second, and what you can do is in your Components window, so I'm going to Window, Components, and you can add your Scrollpane. And usually the easiest way to do this is to add it to it sort of needs to be in the library usually to work fully correctly. Drag it out to your stage, which I already did in the case here, and then you can delete it from the stage, and you'll have one in your library. So what the Scrollpane basically is, it's a box that you put something inside of, and you put either a movie clip or a sprite or an image, any display object basically. You put it inside this box, and it will automatically add vertical and horizontal scroll bars if the content you add to the Scrollpane is bigger than the Scrollpane, right? So the basic idea is, I can just draw something here quickly and delete it. So if this is the Scrollpane, when I add my content to it, the Scrollpane will never be, so that's kind of the viewport, but if my content is bigger than fits in the Scrollpane, it'll automatically add the scroll bars here, so that I can scroll either way and see that content, right? So that the basic idea is that you adding a viewport here that will never change in size but can accommodate things that are larger than it. All right, so that's that. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to add our Scrollpane in as part of our laying out of the grid. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to create a new Scrollpane here, and this is going to be before the for loop. Create new Scrollpane. So var Scrollpane equals new Scrollpane, and we're going to add it to the stage. Add child Scrollpane, right? Otherwise we wouldn't be able to see it. All right, now let's try to run this and see what happens. So usually when I add in a new, class or method or whatever, I just add a couple lines. I can test it out. I get undefined method Scrollpane. Okay, so what that means is that I didn't import it. Okay, and actually I would know that it would say something else if I had properly typed this as Scrollpane. Let's run that again, and we'll get 2 errors. So type was not found and called possibly undefined method. So let's import our Scrollpane. Now if you don't remember where it is, remember you can highlight it, hit F1, go to your help, and it will tell you here fl.containers is where my Scrollpane is. Oops. Okay, so let's go to our import statements. fl.containers, and I'll just import them, anything I might need now. Let's run that again, see if we get any errors. So great, no errors. So now the next steps we have to do are we have to add, we can't just add these directly to the Scrollpane. The Scrollpane only can get one item in it. So I have to add another step, oops, I scrolled down too far here, which is to create the movie clip container. Create movie clip container to put in the Scrollpane. So what we have here is I'm going to make it called container movie clip equals new movie clip. So it's basically just a blank movie clip. All right, And then I don't actually add this to the stage. So this is a little different. You add it to the scroll pane. So, and you don't do it by add child. You say scroll pane. Oh, sorry, I am in the wrong spot. I apologize here. See here, I'm inside the for loop. I don't want to create a new movie clip like this on each for loop. So what we want to do is add that directly after we create the scroll pane. So I apologize. You might want to pause here for a second, make sure you have everything in the right place. Scroll pane dot source equals container. So now that source is the container. And the next thing I need to do is, well, let's just run this and make sure that that works. We don't want to add too many codes. All right, so it's fine. It's still working okay. We haven't actually changed anything yet, but we're getting there. So one is you have to set the width and the height of the scroll pane. Otherwise, you won't have, anything visible. So this is like the width and the height you want it to be. Now, usually you want to add a little bit for the scroll bars on the side. So I had said before, in terms of my max width, I said 325 on that. So I'm going to make it 350 for the scroll pane. Right, so the max width of my boxes is 325. I'm making the scroll pane a little bit wider than that. And just to be easy and make consistent, I'm going to make the height the same. But you can change these to be whatever it is you want it to be. All right, so then we set a width and a height. I'm going to run that again to make sure I have no errors. And we still shouldn't see anything yet. Now here's the magic part that comes. So by the way, I don't know if you can see here where my mouse is. This is the scroll pane. It's got a little bit of a drop shadow around it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is instead of adding the square to the stage, I'm going to add it to the container. Ooh. All right, that's that movie clip there. We're going to add all of our squares to the container. Now let's run it and see what happens. Okay, so there we go. So now we've added it to container. Notice it stops here where the scroll pane ends. The only problem is we don't have the scroll bars, which is the whole reason we had the scroll pane. So there's one more thing that we need to do, which is after you're done adding things to a scroll pane, you need to update it, otherwise it won't look to redo its scroll bars. So let's just, by the way, we should have some little comments here. This one ends the if statement, and this one ends the for loop. And so after that for loop is when we're going to do the update. All right, so after we're done with this for loop, that we've added all of our squares, just apologize, let me get rid of that, then we'll update the scroll pane. So here, update scroll pane to show scroll bars. So scroll pane dot update. And let's run it now. And so there we go. We have a scroll pane that is updating. We can see all 120 of our clips, and they're also all clickable still with the same clickability. Okay, the other nice thing about this is now, because they're all inside a scroll pane, I can move the whole thing around by just moving the scroll pane around. Right, so I just set the X and Y of the scroll pane, and I can move this whole thing around. So if I don't want it to be quite at the top left like that, I could do something like scrollpane.x equals 10. Right, set the X and the Y of the scroll pane to 10, and so then we'd be 10 pixels over. All right, and so now I have a nice little scroll pane of things that I can look through and click on.